Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. I'm Robert Brewer, United States Attorney for the Southern District of California. Joining me here today are Scott Brunner, FBI Special Agent in charge of the San Diego Field Office, Assistant United States Attorney Caroline Hahn, and FBI Supervisory Special Agent Aaron Westfall of the San Diego Division. Today we are here to announce the unsealing of a superseding indictment which charges a former San Diego resident with terrorism. We believe this defendant, Jihad Sirwan Mostafa, is the highest-ranking United States citizen fighting overseas with a terrorist organization, in this case, Al-Shabaab. The superseding indictment describes Mostafa's critical role in providing material support to Al-Shabaab, a violent Islamic terrorist organization based in Somalia, East Africa. Al-Shabaab's reign of terror threatens United States national security, our international allies, and innocent civilians everywhere. Today we seek the public's assistance in capturing Mostafa and disrupting Al-Shabaab. Mostafa is charged in a 3-count superseding indictment with the following. 1, conspiracy to provide material support to terrorists. 2, conspiracy to provide material support to Al-Shabaab, a foreign terrorist organization. And 3, providing material support to Al-Shabaab. Mostafa is a long-standing target of our office and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. He was originally charged in 2009 with similar charges covering his terrorist activities through early 2009. The superseding indictment, which we announce today, expands the scope of those original charges, alleging that Mostafa's support of Al-Shabaab and its terrorist activities have continued for almost a decade, up to and including early 2017. As alleged in the indictment, Mostafa agreed with others to provide material support, including himself as a foreign fighter, to Al-Shabaab, clearly knowing that such support would be used to carry out violent terrorist activities, including the murder, kidnapping, and maiming of persons abroad and the use of weapons of mass destruction. As FBI Special Agent in charge Scott Brunner will more fully explain in a moment, our office and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, San Diego, continue to focus on Mostafa and Al-Shabaab, in part because of the terrorist attacks that have a direct impact on United States interests, including San Diegans. Specifically, a United States citizen working for a San Diego nonprofit organization was killed in 2010 during an attack in Uganda during the World Cup. And a Torrey Pines high school graduate was injured in 2013 during an Al-Shabaab attack on the Westgate Mall in Nairobi, Kenya. I would like to, at this time, sincerely thank the special agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation and their federal, state, and local partners at the San Diego Joint Terrorism Task Force. These dedicated agents and officers have worked tirelessly for over a decade in the investigation of Mostafa and continue to do so, all to ensure the safety and security of the citizens of this community and of this nation. I would also like to thank Assistant United States Attorneys Shane Harrigan and Caroline Hahn for their incredible dedication to this case over several years. It's prosecutors like them that help keep us safe. I would now like to turn it over to Federal Bureau of Investigation Special Agent in Charge, Scott Bruner.
Good afternoon. My name is Scott Bruner. I'm the Special Agent in Charge, as you've heard, of the San Diego Division of the FBI. Today we're here to ask the public's assistance, here and abroad, to report information leading to the capture of Jihad Sirwan Mustafa, one of the FBI's most wanted terrorists. We're also publicizing the reward offer of up to $5 million for information leading to Mustafa's arrest under the Rewards for Justice program in coordination with the Department of State. Thank you for being here today to help publicize the continued efforts to locate and apprehend this most wanted terrorist. Who is this most wanted terrorist? Jihad Mustafa, aka Ahmed Guri, is a 37-year-old U.S. citizen and former resident of San Diego, California. Mustafa was raised in the Serra Mesa area of San Diego. After graduating from high school, he attended Mesa College and then went on to the University of California, San Diego, where he graduated in the fall of 2004. In late 2005, Mustafa left San Diego and traveled to Somalia, where he engaged in fighting against internationally supported Ethiopian forces. At some point, Mustafa joined al-Shabaab. Simply put, al-Shabaab is a dangerous and violent terrorist group. The U.S. Department of State designated al-Shabaab as a foreign terrorist organization in 2008. This group is a violent and brutal militia group that's used intimidation and violence to undermine the Somali government and the foreign military presence supporting it, while seeking to establish a society based on its rigid interpretation of Sharia law. In 2012, al-Shabaab pledged allegiance to the military Islamist group al-Qaeda. Since 2009, Mustafa has held leadership positions with al-Shabaab, including in their media operations and explosives department. In 2011, Mustafa appeared at a press event with an al-Shabaab leader and was described as an al-Qaeda representative. During this press event, Mustafa paid homage to Osama bin Laden. Here's a video clip of Mustafa.
We are honored and blessed to take this opportunity to send our heartfelt greetings to our brothers and sisters in Somalia. It is under these strenuous circumstances that we remember the role played by our beloved Sheikh Osama bin Laden. May Allah have mercy upon him.
Today, Mustafa is believed to be the highest-ranking United States citizen fighting overseas with a terrorist organization. For over a decade, Mustafa has played a critical role in al-Shabaab's operations. This includes media operations, training of soldiers, participating on attacks on Somali government forces and African Union troops, and holding various leadership positions. Most recently, the FBI became aware of Mustafa's participation and leadership with al-Shabaab's explosives department. Protecting the American people from terrorism, both international and domestic, is the FBI's #1 priority. The FBI is the lead domestic agency for combating terrorism. Today, although the primary international terrorism threat to the U.S. is homegrown violent extremists, we continue to be concerned about groups like al-Qaeda and al-Shabaab, which remains intent on launching attacks against the U.S. and the West, and has been encouraging its followers to choose targets with the intent to harm as many Americans as possible. This resolve was reaffirmed by the Emir of al-Shabaab just weeks ago on November 5th, when he issued a call to arms for all Muslims to attack American interests and Americans wherever they may be. We must use every tool in our toolbox to disrupt a potential terrorist attack before it happens. That means state, local, and federal charges like the charges the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI are announcing here today against Mustafa. The FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the State Department have continued an intensive investigation since 2010 in order to locate this terrorist. The FBI has not forgotten, has not stopped working, and will not stop until Mustafa is found. This team indicted him once in 2010 and again in 2019. The FBI identified him as a most wanted terrorist, and he remains on our most wanted terrorist list. We publicized the reward for information since 2013 and are here again today reminding the public that we need any information they have to be reported to the FBI. Let me remind you, Mustafa has been implicated in the use of improvised explosive devices to commit violent acts in Somalia on behalf of al-Shabaab. The FBI believes Mustafa maintains a critical role in planning violent attacks on behalf of al-Shabaab. As a result, he continues to pose a direct threat to U.S. forces, civilians, and interests. Here are a few examples. On September 30th, 2019, al-Shabaab conducted a coordinated attack against the Baldogle military air base in southern Somalia where U.S. soldiers were based. Simultaneously, al-Shabaab also attacked an Italian convoy traveling in the Somali capital of Mogadishu. Al-Shabaab claimed responsibility for this coordinated attack. Al-Shabaab's resolve to continue attacks on innocent civilians in Somalia and in the region, and will go to any length to threaten the security of the United States and our partners. Although there were no U.S. casualties in the most recent attack, al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility for other attacks which resulted in injuries to Americans or has ties to San Diego. In 2010, the Kampala, Uganda suicide bombing of a bar during a World Cup soccer match that killed a U.S. citizen working for a San Diego nonprofit organization. In 2013, the attack on the Westgate shopping mall in Nairobi, Kenya, killed over 60 and injured U.S. citizens, including a graduate of Torrey Pines High School. Additionally, as recently as January 15, 2019, al-Shabaab executed a coordinated attack on the Dusit D2 hotel in Nairobi, Kenya, where 16 innocent civilians were killed, including a U.S. citizen. We believe Mustafa has played and will continue to play an active role in terrorist acts by al-Shabaab, and he must be stopped. The FBI and our partners will not stop to work to prevent terrorist acts, including those by this indicted terrorists. We're asking for your assistance. We must continue to disrupt al-Shabaab and their violent attacks, which continue to pose a threat to the U.S. national security. The FBI is requesting any information that could lead to the apprehension of Jahood Mustafa. This is Jahood Mustafa. Listen to his voice. Listen to his voice and look at these images.
We would like to praise the continuous efforts of Harakat Shabab al-Mujahideen, who, while operating under extremely difficult circumstances, have made it their priority to help their Muslim brothers and sisters with exceptional dignity and grace, and have risen above the lies and deceit circulated by the hypocritical Western media.
Help us stop this most wanted terrorist. We're asking anyone with information about Jahood Sirwan Mustafa to contact the FBI. You can email tips to tips.fbi.gov. You can call 1-800-CALL-FBI, or visit your nearest FBI office or American embassy or consulate. Thank you for helping us republicize the FBI's top 10 most wanted terrorists who once lived right here in San Diego, California. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. As is my practice as a United States Attorney, it is my pleasure now to introduce to you Assistant United States Attorney Caroline Hahn, who has tirelessly been working on this case for several years to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Yes, sir.
Hi, Elliot Staggett from the Associated Press. Could you be specific about what new information there is in this indictment compared to the original indictment? What is in the new indictment for this proceeding that was not in the original?
Yeah, so without actually getting into too many specifics, the differences in the indictment is related to the time that it covers. So the original indictment ended his conduct or covered his conduct ending in 2009. This new superseding indictment covers his conduct all the way through February of 2017. So that is the difference. For example, as you saw some of the clips that he was at that 2011 press conference and he purported to be an Al-Qaeda emissary, that is the kind of conduct that is covered in the superseding indictment.
Does it have other specific examples or not can you provide any?
We'd rather not get into other specifics, but that's just one example. Yes, ma'am.
Can you say a little bit more about what exactly is material support?
Sure. So in this case, material support is providing himself. He agreed to serve as a foreign fighter. Count 1 covers the conspiracy or the agreement to serve as a foreign fighter to terrorists, that he agreed to do that. Specifically, the difference between count 1 and 2 and 3 is that we are required to prove specific terrorist acts. As the U.S. Attorney mentioned, count 1 covers the use of a weapon of mass destruction, that he agreed to participate in this conspiracy knowing that he himself would be used in preparation for or in furtherance of the use of a weapon of mass destruction, meaning a rocket-propelled grenade, or as related to the conspiracy to kill, maim, or kidnap, that he himself agreed to participate in the conspiracy knowing that Al-Shabaab was engaged in that fight against Ethiopian, Somali, and other African Union forces in an attempt to destabilize Somalia and establish that Sharia law in Somalia.
Do you believe he still has contacts here in San Diego that he's in communication with?
Based on the FBI's investigation, we would feel comfortable saying that he does have relatives here in the San Diego area. Yes, ma'am.
What can you tell us about his last known whereabouts? I saw the clip there from 2011. Obviously, we've been talking about Somalia. Are there other areas that you know that he's frequented or been to, or his last known whereabouts?
I think I would defer to the FBI's Supervisory Special Agent to discuss that.
We believe that he's most likely in southern Somalia. That's where the Al-Shabaab stronghold is. Our investigation gives us a lot of information that we can't go into any detail since it is ongoing. So we at this point, we really need the help from the public to help narrow down where his location would be.
Agent Westphal, if you could explain perhaps more fully, if we're able to, the leadership role that you believe Mustafa has risen to within Al-Shabaab, and offer a little more sense on when you say in post that he's believed to be the highest ranking United States citizen. Does that make him one of 1,000? Give me a sense as to how many other Americans that he's fighting alongside with.
I don't know the specific answer to that, but we do assess that he's the highest ranking American fighting with a terrorist organization overseas. He's held several different positions in Al-Shabaab over the years. I can't go into any specifics of what his role is currently, but he's survived this long, so clearly he's a trusted member.
The video clips that you showed, that I presume that was shot in southern Somalia, or was it?
I don't know where that video is.
A refugee camp in Somalia.
A refugee camp in Somalia.
Any other questions?
Was there a $5 million reward previously offered for information that he was?
Yes, there was.
But do you know if he's made contact with relatives here in San Diego? Can you discuss that?
We can't go into any of his communications.
You said in 2013, the government talked about publicizing the fact that he is wanted. Have things materially changed since that time? I mean, has he become much, much, much more violent, dangerous, or how would you characterize the level of threat that he presents?
I would say his threat level has been constant and consistent, but given the recent publication that Al-Shabaab put out that was mentioned earlier by SAC Bruner about Al-Shabaab calling for attacks on all Americans, it's raised it a little bit for us.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here and for reporting on this very important case. Thank you.
Mr. Brewer,
Yes.
address the expected change of plea tomorrow by Congressman Hunter.
All-
What your sense is from your office as to what that change of plea should mean to the people here in San Diego County and in his district?
All questions concerning the Hunter plea are directed to David Leshner, the acting U.S. Attorney on that case. Thank you all for being here.
Is there any way we can play the videos one more time?
We certainly can.
Yes, well, I can do that for you once the executives leave.
Okay, thank you.